Hey, log 39.0. Time is Saturday, 13th of August, 2:34 UK time. So last week did these biennial assessments for the first time. Said I'd report back in about how they went. Definitely want to do so, good or bad, right? Obviously exhausted. This week's been an exhausting one for sure, but want to do this for sure. So okay, so first and foremost, I've never received an assessment in my life, right? Like I was trying to conduct something I've never experienced on a receiving end, let alone delivering. And I think that's kind of uncanny, actually. Like, I mean, I've had at this point, coming into this company, almost 10-year career. Definitely been a 10-year career now at this point, 34, 12 years now. Bunch of gaps in there, of course, as well. So maybe not 10 years like work experience full, but nearly or almost probably, right? I think total 2 years gaps when I did the math at one point or something like this. Many a gap between jobs. But that said, like decent career, never having received any sort of formal assessment, right? Maybe it's because of coming from sales background, maybe it's not as common. But even that, I was on, sales for half of that career, and the others since being with customer success. And worked at some good companies too, and still never received any kind of structured assessment. So had to figure out what I was going to do, how I was going to do it, had to see how it was going to work. For the most part, given I'm pretty pleased with most of my team, all but maybe one, maybe it could be easier than it would be otherwise, right? But just to comment on the fact that I've never received one before, I don't know if that's just because I've worked at startups or whatnot. I also think like some of the startups I worked at, like middle management was very weak, right? Yammer, middle manager, I hated the middle management there, or my manager at least, right? He was whack as fuck and just was not a good manager in general, let alone my opinion on him. Then again, that was sales oriented, so maybe you don't do so much assessments. It really is just about your quota. Did we do anything? No, not really, not at all. We gave some talking tos, but definitely didn't do any kind of formal assessment. Prior to that, TrueBaits wouldn't expect anything like that from them. That was straight out of college. Well, not really straight out of college. I was at FedEx first. FedEx, no, that's a big corporate thing, but we work in retail. Well, what do I expect as far as assessment in that sense? After Yammer Lean Data, we were a real small startup. It's not even something I necessarily expected. I just kind of expected a raise at year 1 year mark, but didn't even ask for one at that point, honestly, actually. Left shortly after, or got let go, or whatever, how you want to frame it, right? I basically quit on them. And then New Relic, what? Surprise, surprise. I mean, that was a horribly run department, definitely. We were the laughing stock of the company, but nothing there either. I worked there quite a bit, a year and 8 months. I mean, those motherfuckers try to let me go with cause, right? We're trying to rob me of, let me go. They let me go. They let me go without severance. And without severance, it means you're being let go with cause. And if you let go with cause, then you can't collect unemployment. But also because they're not giving me severance, my healthcare stopped then and there. So I was about to lapse. I mean, that's some bullshit. Fuck that company. They can take it up the ass. Fuck that motherfucking company. What they try to do me dirty there. And then I just went crazy on them, went psycho on them, stalked out the office, blew up the emails, blew up the Twitter, and then finally they capitulated and gave me a month severance, month healthcare, and then a reclassification, of course, because you don't get severance if it's with cause. And then later down the line, EDD tried to claw back my unemployment pay because I guess they had still classified it as with cause or something when they submitted it, I suppose, initially, whatnot. And then I just said to EDD, here's my severance package that they shared with me. Nothing more to discuss, right? It must be a misclassification. And I never heard from them again. They didn't, reach out again more to claw back. So, but motherfuckers, fuck them, fuck New Relic. I never received anything there, and I expect as much from that. That's a public fucking company. What the hell? How did I not have any sort of assessment there? And I was there over a year and a half, plenty of opportunity to have at least 3, even if you just do it biannually. But anywho, so, and then here, didn't really expect it here. Didn't really have anything of the sort, though I will say my very last manager here, the one I think is the best manager I've ever had, would do a written assessment each quarter, be all these kind of competencies, behaviors, she'd like weight score me on, and then she'd give some commentary beside it, and then cumulative kind of commentary. And I never really understood how she weighted everything, didn't even really understand some of the metrics or competency behaviors or whatever criteria, whatever she called it, I forget. But I would just scroll down to the last cumulative written assessment, then obviously then scroll back up and read the side by sides, and didn't ever understand the weighting of the score. And of course, first thing I look at is what percentage of my pay am I going to get that quarter. So that was good. She gave me some structure there, and I will say we maybe use some of that, right, in this. And then, like I said before, taught my brother, bro, you're an MBA, you know, you work at Walmart, what the hell do they do there? And he shared with me like what he did. It's pretty simple, really just reused it, recycled it for the most part, didn't try and reinvent the wheel, did tweak some things here and there that just made sense to, of course. And said, look, team, we're kind of going to go for it. And this all came from, you know, one of my employees, you know, my star out of North America, basically saying at the year mark, like, do I get an annual assessment or something? I said, yeah, that's a great idea. I mean, no, yeah, that's a great idea. We should, right? We haven't, but we should. And it's something we should do actually for everybody. Let's come up with like a structure that works for all. I don't want to just do one for you and not for others. But then I have another, my other like senior CSM in the UK was like totally opposed to the concept and principle of like, you know, assessment, right? So very different, kind of very different angles, total opposite side of the spectrum in terms of philosophy or feelings about it initially, right? One wanted it, one was asking for it, the other said I'd feel infantilized by it, right? But ultimately I decided it's something we have to do, especially when you start getting like struggling employees. But also for those that are doing well, I think it's a good reinforcement, right? And I know how much I valued those written assessments that my last manager finally did do for me, actually. So having experienced it at least in that respect, like I liked it. Even if I was like, what the fuck, why am I not getting paid 100%? Yeah, I really appreciated the thought that went into assessing me, right? And the words given to me basically about me. So finally did them. Kept it simple for the employees. What I did was there's three things they had to kind of fill out. One was written assessment on things they accomplished. So just like a bullet, like just do bullet points basically. Accomplishments, learnings, and initiatives. So accomplishments or achievements, I think I call accomplishments is things like keep doing, keep accomplishing, right? But here's good examples of things I accomplished and you know to date over the last 6 months, whether it be from last 6 months or since your start date, because some of them haven't been here 6 months just yet. Then the second thing was learnings or things, you know, stop doing or wouldn't do again or would do differently rather now, things you basically learned. And then initiatives, things you'd like to start doing basically. Or things you'd like to do going forward, focus on. And that keep it simple. Then there was like a qualitative rubric where there's like just like 13 things. It was originally 12. I broke it out to like 13. It's like, you know, you give a opportunity, successful, exemplary is how Walmart at least quadranted it, right? So opportunity means needs to work on, obviously. Successful means like I guess meets expectations, and exemplary means exceeds expectations. And then there's all these composite behaviors that they label, and you kind of put yourself 1 through 3 on these things. You know, and some of them would be like positive attitude, comma, work ethic. And that's one I broke out. I was like, dude, there's positive attitude and then there's work ethic, right? I don't think I'm exemplary on the positive attitude, but I think I'm exemplary on the work ethic, for instance. So that needs to be broken out. And some of the other things my brother shared, I mean, he's in finance. There's like financial acumen. I was like, that doesn't make sense. I need to retitle that. That needs to be something like business and industry acumen. Sure, minor tweak, right? So really didn't materially change anything, really. You know, Walmart being the biggest employer in the world, let me kind of trust how they do on the corporate level, at least. And see how it works, right? We can always reiterate. I thought it went really well. The feedback from the team was remarkably positive as well. I think it was a good thing. I think it went really well, and that's the feedback I've received as well. So it wasn't just how I felt about it. I went in great depth with my things, right? They did little bullet points, but I turned into like long written kind of remarks. Surprise, surprise. Of course, if I write, it's going to be long. But I think they appreciated it too, and it was good to go in depth. It was exhausting to get done, but actually, I enjoyed it, right? And now, what I'd like to do is definitely not do that quarterly. That'd be overkill. Annually, I don't think is necessarily enough to write any kind of ship. So I'm gonna do it biannually, and we'll check in quarterly how we're pacing, right? Midway. And then each 6 months we'll do obviously a quarterly kind of, they'll get their MBOs, they'll get their pay assessment, but every 6 months they'll also be, every other quarter effectively, there'll also be a biannual assessment. So it's cool. And the initiatives, it's cool to kind of give each their own unique initiatives, own unique, they all have their own unique accomplishments and learnings as well. And in doing this, in like the second to last one I did, so total, how many I do? 1, 2, 5, 8. I did 8 because they are my team currently. I have one on maternity leave. And I look to hire 3 more this quarter. I'm hiring right now. That's exhausting as well. More exhausting probably actually. And the second to last one, last Friday, right? So he's my most senior SE. Very quiet. Very very I sometimes worry about him, right? But very good, great, right? But he asked me actually at the end, like we're about to sign off, and he's like, actually, wait, I did have a question. I was like, oh wow, really? I don't ask things actually. He says, like, just curious, like what motivates you? I was like, oh, whoa, what a question, right? That's a great question, by the way. I mean, that's what I should be asking him to be at. And I should be finding that out of all my employees, actually, what motivates them. And then I went on like my whole life story, basically, with him. So he wasn't really asking for, but starting back to the beginning with, my criminal record, right? Went even for that far up front, about at the beginning. It was really about, this was the only job I could get. I got offers from Cisco, LinkedIn, whatever, but they rescinded it as soon as they completed a background check. And even now, I'm only now making as much money as like Cisco offered me, what, 5 years ago? And there and there, what it was just not losing a job. It was the motivation of like a stick type motivation, carrot and the stick. And that was certainly a stick. I just could not lose a job. I mean, if I lost a job, I couldn't even get a job at Starbucks, God damn it. So in that sense, the company also really saved me. So I felt this great debt to this company. I mean, the fact that I was able to get in before they completed a background check, that was just them being amateurs. Honestly, you're supposed to complete that shit before the employee starts. By the time they completed a month in, right, I had already fortunately been given an opportunity to make a good enough impression, make an impression, and made a good enough impression that they decided to kind of keep me actually. But it complicated things for them because they hired me to manage some of these accounts like Moody's and Clear at the time were some of the bigger accounts we had, and like Refinitiv and Thomson Reuters is what it was called then. I think they changed the name to Refinitiv. But I couldn't because in their like MSAs, like someone with a criminal record or felonies, I think specifically, which is what were pending against me. I mean, at that point, I was out on bail. I basically joined this company on bail. Eventually took a plea deal. It got reduced from 4 charged felonies to 1 and 2 misdemeanors. But I'm still sitting there with a felony, basically, right? Like convicted felon. Fortunately, was able to eventually get that reduced at the end of December 12th, 2019. And then within 6 weeks, I was here, right? I mean, prior to that being reduced, I couldn't even technically leave the county. Anytime I leave the county, I was doing so illegally. Ridiculous, right? So that motivation was very different, right? Then post December 12th and the fact I moved out here, motivation quickly changed because at that point I could maybe go work for Cisco or something. But they had made me VP the month before, which was a great kind of in November, which was a great kind of like, I mean, the fact they did that for me when they weren't even clear if I could come to the UK. All the other C-levels have been let go. I was the only one left in America at that, given that last, there was one C-level still out, like LA at that time, but he was let go. So I'm the remaining kind of American employee. I'm not even sure what that means technically for the company as far as like supporting one employee in America. As far as like added costs or whatnot, I think it's nominal or nothing really. I mean, it's not something for sure, right? And they made me VP without even any kind of assurance that I could even make it to the UK. I think in some ways they were not completely clear maybe on like just what a situation was. I did make it clear that I don't know I think they thought, you'll be fine, right? And ultimately I was. So maybe even they were kind of ignorant about the severity of what I was facing, especially at the early days when there's 4 pending felonies. I mean, 4 pending felonies, any given felony, not any given felony, but like a felony means prison time, not jail time, right? Potentially, right? Misdemeanors, whatever, right? But felony is different. In fact, you're facing 4 where 2 represent strikes in the state of California. Fuck. You'd be going to prison. I mean, no, I have no surprises that companies couldn't hire me, right? Never mind what some of their customers may have in their MSA. Like, dude, how can you hire someone who might be going to prison, right? So, but the motivation changed, right? So as soon as they made me VP, then it was like, well, if I'm VP, who the fuck cares about being VP of a company that in 3 months' time is insolvent, right? Goes bankrupt, closes. In fact, I probably wouldn't even put it on my resume. It'd be embarrassing, It's like I was made VP, and within 3 months we were donezo, So we're talking about the opposite of a Midas touch, right? So then for me, it was really about just saving the company, and moved out here to do so. Even when I came out here, telling all my friends, even at the time, but could be back in like 3 months, could be back never. I don't know. We'll see, right? Big adventure, basically. Um, and a lot were saying, yeah, see you in 3 months, jokingly, but not joking, right? Being serious, right? And honestly, I didn't even realize how bad it was until I got here. 30K in the bank is what we had as a company. Didn't even know that until upon arrival, right? When I finally was given access to financials. I probably should have asked for that shit up front before I came, but didn't. And then once I got here and had access, realized, oh, damn, it's worse than I thought, right? And I mean, we didn't even have enough to really even close to pay people out their severance, for instance. Fuck, right? I mean, we had some account receivable, sure, for sure, but we had much bigger liabilities, that's for sure. But I guess those get washed away with bankruptcy. I'm not sure of the order of things, right? Do employees get their severance before you have to pay liabilities? I don't know. Anywho, save the company. That was mission accomplished through 2020, 2021. 2 years, really turned things around. 2020, saved the company. 2022, motivation changed to what kind of golden metrics can I achieve the golden metrics I set out to. And then now at the end of 2020, I was like, man, I'm a free man. I feel like I paid back my debt, saved the company, achieved these golden metrics. I could go work anywhere now, feel fine leaving also, right? But what it led to was a real kind of accomplishment hangover of sorts, where from the beginning of this year till let's say a month ago or so, by basically mid-year this year, I was really lacking for what's the motivation now? And it all came to a head with this company retreat, because that was the last kind of crowning thing. I was saying we talked about in 2020, 2021, about when we hit this mark, the mark there being ARR. We'll all take a retreat, 3 million ARR. We hit it there, 3,056K, right? At the end of 2020, right there at the end. And took this retreat, and it was like the crowning achievement. I wasn't too well, but I wasn't too well during the retreat, right? I will say. I don't know what was kind of wrong with me. It was a great retreat, but something was not quite right with me. Not that something wasn't quite right about the retreat. The retreat was fantastic, but me personally, I was dealing with some things I didn't even kind of really understand. And then coming out of the retreat, hit a major depression, right? And it's just what now sort of thing. And that was in May, and I really struggled. I was struggling leading up to May a little bit also. I can go back to the tape on these and see where I was when, right? But certainly coming off of the retreat in May, and that's also my birthday month too. I always struggle with my birthday month psychologically. But was really depressed, and was even thinking of leaving sort of thing. Just crazy to think about. Even when I was saying it, thinking it, I was this is crazy thoughts, something's very wrong with me, right? I was even saying I need to go get therapy, right? Never went and got any, but definitely felt I needed it, Fortunately, I feel like I've gone through it without it, but it's not to say I wouldn't have benefited from it. Probably should still go tap into find my therapist now before I really need one, and that's the way to approach it, right? When I don't need one, go find one I trust, begin to build a relationship with, so that when things do turn sour, I have one I can lean on that I've already kind of built that relationship with, rather than scrambling to find one And trying to build a relationship with them in the worst times, right? And you can't really connect with anybody, right? So yeah, and then now what's the motivation? So now the motivation, and I'll unpack this in great time. I'm just exhausted right now. Motivation now is like, how good can it get? How great can we be? Whereas previously we kind of, this is fighter mentality, you know, it's a survivor mode. Fight our way out of the corner, right? But now I feel like we have this ball and it's about not fumbling the ball. Like, how far can I take this ball, right? Yeah, can I touch down and spike it? And to me, that isn't just achieving golden metrics anymore, like we did last year. In fact, the metrics probably be worse this year, to be honest. Certainly, as far as like customer success related. I think new business will be a lot better, but customer success, NRR, GRR, it's not going to be as great as it was last year. It'll still be good, hopefully, but not as great. And you know, how good can this get? How great of a team can I build? How happy can we make customers? How happy can we all be? How happy can I be? And basically, what a great team can I build, right? That's a new type of motivation. And I'm really happy with my team. And I'm trying to grow it by additional 3. So going from 8 to 12, and then with myself included, 13 total. Right now we have 8, and then me, but 1 is on maternity leave. So I think we have technically have 10 with me, 9 with the one on maternity leave, 8 without, right? I'm trying to get to 12 and 13 myself included by basically quarters, and well, we'll see when the one from maternity leave returns, right? I mean, she technically could be on maternity leave till May, so maybe not a while, right? And yeah, so I guess it's motivation now. It's more deep set than that. I don't have the energy right now to go into the real story, but I'm very narrative driven when it comes to motivation. And that's the other thing. It's like, what are the types of motivation? Some people you just throw money at, very money motivated. I'm not necessarily, really not, right? For me, the money that matters to me is like life-changing money. This is why I'm playing the startup game. The money that matters to me is that I can retire early, not end up being an old man in tech. That's my biggest fear. I don't want to be an old man in tech. Tech is a young man's game. I want to exit successfully and sail off in the sunset in my boat, you know, earlier, and do as the titters and men before me have done. My father retired early. He'll say it was, you know, brought on by the family forcing him to retire. His father retired early. I don't think anybody forced his father to retire early. I think he just retired way too early. I like to do the same, but under my own kind of terms and with enough money that I can do so and not be worrying about money in my 70s and 80s, which is what kind of happened with my dad, my father's father, my grandfather, right? I think he lived longer than he expected, or, you know, inflation maybe hit the savings harder than they thought. Who knows what, right? I mean, I don't want that either. But I also don't want to be an old man in tech. It's a young man's game. And I've seen old men in tech and it kind of scares me. They kind of lose touch with it all and they just talk differently, think differently. And it's just like, damn, man, take your leave, right? But if you built your life in tech, right? Well, you know, you haven't had great success and you still got to work that job to make that money. I just don't want to be in that position, man. I want to be that old man in tech. Well, old man, I'm still in tech. It better be from an investor angel angle, right? Or CEO angle, sure. C-level angle, maybe, right? It's different. But even then, rather just sail off into the sunset, God damn it, right? And another thing of the motivation. Okay, so that's the type of other types of motivation. So money is one. I mean, that's what makes capitalism work. The motivation of money. Some in my team, especially, maybe a few on my team, but I wouldn't say the majority definitely are. Some are money motivated. The majority are not. What other types of motivation are there, right? That's the real kind of typical carrot, money, easy, if you have it, right? To offer it up and kind of motivate in that way. And it does work, right? Let's not deny it, but not for all. And some works better than for others. Then there's what other types of then there's like the stick, the carrot and the stick. You know, stick motivation. I guess that would be the closest equivalent I can think of was basically for me in the beginning, right? It was like I had to keep this job because I wouldn't be able to get any other job. I mean, that's the ultimate stick. And self-inflicted stick is not a stick that your manager has to fucking whip you with. That's one I'm like, goddamn, dude, I have to make this work, right? Then there's the narrative motivation. Some people are very narrative driven, myself included. Like I need to have the story in my head, and if I lose thread of that story, then my motivation dies, dude. But if I have that story in my head, like even if people are like, what are you doing? How are you motivated? If I've got that narrative and it's all kind of aligning in my head, like the story, it's all good, right? Other types of motivation. I'll have to give it some thought. That's kind of what this is about. It's not so much about coming in with the answers, it's that, I have this kind of open question for myself. But coming out of that question that, my SE asked me, yeah, I gave them a whole life story they didn't actually ask for. But coming out of that, I was like, damn, I actually really asked all my team this question. What motivates them? And not just like I want to do good work. I enjoy doing good work, quality work, making an impact, being part of the team. All that's, good, real motivations. I'm not downplaying them, but like I want to hear specifically maybe to DG, because you could do work anywhere. Do good work anywhere. Take satisfaction in your job. Not necessarily, maybe not anywhere, but a lot of places. I mean, I did good work at FedEx. I got a lot of satisfaction at FedEx office, right? But at the end of the day, was I terribly motivated at FedEx? I mean, no. I mean, that's a job I was working that I could have worked in high school without going and getting a college degree. But I think I did a good job and I took satisfaction out of the work I did. So, motivating, I guess, in that sense. But I want to hear specific to GG kind of maybe what motivates you. And if you don't have anything, maybe that's even more important for us to be discussing, right? Maybe it's if you had no motivations to share, then the question matters even more, actually, right? And if you're horribly unmotivated, then it matters. And then what it also led to was me asking, well, what demotivates you? That matters as well. And what really demotivates, so far I've only done it with the 3 SEs today. Meet with the 3 SEs on Fridays for our one-on-ones. Got to meet with the CSMs next week. I meet with the CSMs Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And hear from them. I'm curious. But the SEs, all the demotivating stuff was all this like bullshit work they got to do that's really should be dealt with from byproducts, right? This should be self-serve stuff. They're basically complaining about stuff. Not complaining. They're not complaining, mind you, right? But things that demotivate them is repetitive tasks, honestly, are just dumb. And like even like a customer could do, maybe could even do now. But there needs to be some few key product enhancements before we can reasonably expect customers to like do it themselves. So product just needs to catch up. And when product catches up, a lot of those like demotivating things they cited should be maybe not fully resolved. There'll always be those dumb repetitive tasks we have to do for customers, of course, but should be at least addressed, right? So that's encouraging to hear in a sense, right? That a lot of what is demotivating could be solved by product. And then, then also ask their least favorite customer, most favorite customer, and kind of unpack why this one's the least, why this one's the most. For the most part, like all of them were very reluctant to say or admit, maybe confess the least favorite. They said, no, I like all my customers. I believe that to a degree. But the question is really here of if you like them all, sure, but which one do you like the less than the rest, right? Or, you like them all, fine, but if you had to rank them. And then what I did is as they were speaking, I was writing notes because when I presented this yesterday, Thursday to the team, one of the guys was like, I was like, oh, I'm going to bring this up on all our one-on-ones. And one of the guys was like, okay, I'll be sure to write. I'm like, no, you don't have to write anything, right? I don't expect you to write anything. This is not like the written assessment, right? If you want to write something for personal reference so that you don't forget, right? When we speak, sure, okay, that's notes, that's different, right? But no need to write anything in the conversation. But I knew then that like, I still want to take note of what they said. So as they were speaking, typing, doing my best to not look like I'm typing, right? And not looking at the keyboard, not looking at the screen, which means I like typed in like AIM hand, right? Like AIM shorthand. So I just took these notes where cuz, C-U-Z, right? Because that's the way I type fast, right? And actually I realized then and there, I didn't realize this before, but I can type without looking at the screen or the keyboard, sure. I can do it, but I can't do it if I'm going to type proper. I can do it if I type in like the way I used to AIM, which is funny, right? If I try and write because with B-E-C-A-U-S-E, right? I can't do it without looking at the screen of the keyboard, right? Get it all mangled. But if I do cuz, C-U-Z, somehow, no problem. Or even B-C-U-Z, no problem. The Edge shared with them what I wrote, and it was kind of this there's this concept, technical concept, I forget what it's called, but like a handshake, right? So it's like they say something, you repeat back to them what you heard them say, and then you kind of agree that's what was said, right? So like handshake sort of thing. So they said their thing, I wrote it down, then I shared with them what I wrote, and it's like, is this what you said, right? Because it's what I heard, just the note I took from what you said. And they're like, yeah, that's right. And then a couple of places, right, I tweaked something. Oh, you didn't say, oh my God, right? And, but that was like kind of what I heard, right? But delete that, right? But that was like a note to self sort of thing. But yeah, and I think that went over really well. And I'm really kind of excited to see some of hear from the rest as far as their motivations and demotivations, right? And really, as my role as a manager is really motivate my team. So of course, this is like such an obvious question to be asking, right? It's funny that it had to be inspired by, one of my employees asking me. But thankfully, credit to him for the inspiration. Credit him for the question. Um, but honestly, this is something that's like a no-brainer question every manager should be asking, right? I mean, this should be profound, but it's cool, right? So far, so good. We'll see. I'll report back on that. And then like just like a couple hours ago, right? The one that's on Pacific time, that SE, basically I mentioned something about I think we should every week, every quarter, take a week off from customer calls. So working week, but just tell our customers no calls, once a quarter. So we as a team can like collaborate around things, get things done, right? Discuss, brainstorm, take care of tasks, right? Much of what's kind of partially the concept of like the free week we did 2 weeks ago, but that free week is very kind of unclear. Some people take it as vacation, some people take it as time to do stuff they want to, work related, without the burden of customer calls. And it works, but however you choose, whatever you choose, you can do what you want with that time. But I think it does make sense to have quarterly, once a quarter, have a week where we're very much on the clock. We're all working, but we're just not letting ourselves be distracted by customer calls, right? If they email us stuff, we'll still respond. Not necessarily putting away messages up, but canceling the calls at least, so that we as a team can kind of breathe, but B, brainstorm, and C, get like things done operationally, share best practices, come together, kind of circle the wagons at quarters end each quarter. I thought it was a great idea. I'm so down. Now I'm excited about introducing that next week. So this motivation, like I wouldn't say it's a motivation, but that kind of like inspiration, that kind of like, oh, like things are clicking, and they really weren't for me from a managerial perspective, like this first 6 months. And part of it was that I didn't have the bandwidth for it. I didn't have, I'm still don't have, it's not like I have any more bandwidth now that I did then. So I can't, I guess, say that it really was that. It was more, my mind wasn't working well, right? And now things are clicking, going well. And I'm really kind of enjoying this management aspect so far, right? Or at least recently. This biannual assessments, me really doing my first formal kind of managerial exercise across my team. And coming out of that, there was this cool little question about motivation. Now, there's like a snowball effect, but in a positive sense. I think snowball can have a negative connotation. So what's like this like up and to the right type connotation? I'm trying to say, right? But coming out of the biannual assessment, I think I read really well. Then there's this question about motivation, I read really well. And then there's this like now then other SE now saying, hey, what about this idea about maybe us just taking kind of a week off each quarter from customer calls so that we can work together more. And I was like, it's great. And then who knows what else it'll lead to. So that building on this, what started with this biannual assessments. So yeah, that's where I'm at with all that. I'm very spent. I'm exhausted. I think I'm gonna call it here. But what I will say though is that I'm looking forward to the end of the month. I'm going to take off to Turkey. I'm pretty committed to that. Last week of August, first week of September, through to probably second week of December. But second week of September, what I'll do is I'll still work, but work from Turkey, I think is the plan. That first week, no work. Also give me a chance to figure out, like, can I get this Wi-Fi set up in Turkey properly in this little new place we have, so I could work, right, from there the second week. If not, then just hightail back. But And then in October, going back to States, headed back stateside for a wedding. So still need to book that though. And then a friend of mine who's been in Taiwan all this time that I've been in like London, it's her ticker tape return to the Bay Area. So excited for that as well. Looking forward to that, seeing her again. And of course the wedding, right? Like seeing my buddy get married. I'm excited, right? And given I probably won't be back for the holidays this year, I was initially thinking about just popping in for like an extended weekend, but I think I might make a week of it in October too and just do a proper tour. And actually, the friend that's returning from Taiwan, she was a nice little insistent voice I needed to really kind of say, okay, I'm going to actually make a week of it, not just pop in and out for like a 4-day weekend or something, and do my own little type of return tour, not return, but guess who's back for a little bit, right? Got to do that over the holidays last year, Christmas holidays. Probably won't be able to do it Christmas holidays there this year. Probably don't want to do Christmas holidays this year because I think Christmas, well, we'll see. Time will tell. Because go back in October. Then I have good friend who just got married, whose wedding I was supposed to go to a couple months ago, and flaked. She'll be here in September too. She'll be here so I'll be back from Turkey and she'll immediately then be here. She's in the second week, like mid-September, she'll be here. I'll be back for that for her. Excited about that, to have another guest. First, like the third homie or second homie. There was one, wouldn't consider a homie, but she visited, a friend from Bay Area. That was the first like hometown visitor I had. Then there was my brother. Doesn't really count as family. There was Salman a couple weeks ago, which is great. Even just got off the phone with Afan, right? Talking about how good it was to see Salman. That's something else entirely I need to unpack there, right? Oh my God, seeing him was so good, dude. Like him specifically, not just seeing a homie from home, but like him specifically. I mean, I lived with him for like 10, 11 months or so, right? And we got tight, right? I knew him, I was friendly with him before, but we got tight there and then. But then I haven't really seen him since then. So except for the exception of like at Afon's wedding. But it was great to see another side of him and like reconnect and pick up where we left off. And I think now I'm all saying this, I feel like I've already said this in the last one of these I did, which I must have, right? But now and then, Brenna now coming with her as a newlywed with her husband, who I love. See them. Apparently her husband's sister lives in London too. What are the odds, right? So excited about that. Plenty to look forward to. I know the kind of summer's coming to a close. It's already mid-August, but I feel like my summer's ahead of me, right? So I'm excited. And yeah, with that said, summer loving, have me a blast. It's hot out, as you can tell from my attire. I've been in London right now, like late at night. What is the temperature? It's hot though. So with that said, much love, be happy, do good, and I love you, Mom. Bye, guys.